This is Sara with Posh Pooch Designs, and today's video is our 8th 6-inch square. August's birthstone is the August Peridot, and so we decided to keep it a soft green color, all in one color. And if you've been following along, each month we do a 6-inch square as a crochet along, and then at the end we're going to put them all together into a project. If you're looking for the first 7 months, there's a link down in the videos where you can find those other squares. They're all easy. All of the squares are 6-inch, all done with worsted weight number 4 yarns. For today's square, you can see we did a little bit of front posts in a circle and then sort of fanned out and added some V-stitches. Very simple. We'll be using our Red Heart Super Saver. This is that mint green. We'll be using our H hook, 5mm. You'll need a pair of scissors and a needle for weaving in those ends. Now, it's a good idea to use up some of your scrap yarn and just practice it first. And on the blog as well, in that link, like I said, that's underneath, you'll find a picture tutorial of each of the steps as well. Some people prefer written, some people prefer a picture tutorial, and some people prefer a little more help with a video. And so that's what I'm trying to do with our crochet along. So go ahead and gather those items that you need, and we'll get started. The first thing that we're going to do is we're going to make a slip knot and chain 5. We're going to take the tail of that yarn, put it on our hook, and just pull that right through the loop. And snug that down. And then we're going to be stitching in that loop. So what we're going to do is we're going to turn our loop or our chain loop over, because we're going to go ahead and stitch across our tail of yarn. Alright, and then this is the yarn that we're working with. We're going to take our hook and go right in that hole, pull up a loop, and chain 1. And the chain 1 does not count as a stitch, it's just to get us on the top of where we're working. And we're going to stitch 8 single crochets in this hole, and we're going to stitch over that tail of yarn. That will keep us from having to weave it in later. So put your hook through, pull that loop through, yarn over, and go through both of those loops that are on your hook. 1 single crochet. You may have to bunch them down a little to get all 8 in there. There we go. Six, 7, 8. Let me count them just to make sure. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All right, so I've got 8 single crochets. So I'm going to go in that first single crochet at the top. I'm going to pull a loop through, and then I'm going to pull that loop through the loop that's on my hook and chain 1. And that gives us 8 single crochets. So now we're ready for our next row. When we joined, we already chained 1, and we need to chain 2 more so that we have a chain 3 at the beginning. This chain 3 counts as our first double crochet. And we're going to double crochet in the same stitch as that chain 3. So we're going to yarn over, go in that same stitch, pull up a loop. You'll have 3 loops on the hook. Yarn over, go through the first 2, yarn over, and go through the second 2. And then what we're going to do is place 2 double crochets in each of the 8 single crochets so that we have a total of 16 double crochets. The chain 3 counted as our first double crochet, and then we added another double crochet for the first 2. And then we're placing 2 double crochets in each of the single crochets around. We'll do this all the way around, and then we'll join to the top of this chain 3. So just to repeat, 2 double crochets in each single crochet around for a total of 16 double crochets. I went ahead and took a second and used my needle and weaved in the end back here of the circle. And then I'll go ahead and cut that off. I just didn't want to have to deal with that later, and that's all taken care of. And for row 3, we've chained 3 at the beginning. And we're going to place another double crochet right in that same stitch as our chain 3. And the next stitch that we're going to do is called a front post double crochet. Now if you look at your work, we normally put our stitches around the edge. That's the top of the stitch. We're going to be stitching in the post, and the post portion is this part right down here. And the way we'll do that is we'll put yarn over, we'll take our hook, and we'll go right around that post of the stitch. Not the top, but the post portion. We'll yarn over and pull that through, and then you just finish like a regular double crochet. The next stitch, we'll put 2 double crochets, 1, 2, and then this next stitch we're again going to go around the front post. So I yarned over, I'm going to go around the post of the stitch, yarn over and pull that through just like a regular double crochet. We chained 3 here at the beginning, and that counted as our first double crochet, and then we did a regular double crochet in the same stitch. The next stitch was a front post, and then the way the pattern for this row will work is we'll do 2 regular double crochets in the next stitch and then a front post in that next stitch. So let's try again. We're going to put 2 double crochets in this next stitch, and then we're going to do a front post double crochet in the next. So we're yarned over, we're going around the post, yarn over and pull that through just like a regular double crochet. And we'll do this all the way around for this row. There's our front post, and you can see how those front posts make these nice little lines that look similar to a wheel. And we'll continue this pattern, 2 regular double crochets, front post double crochet, all the way around, and then we'll join right back here to the top of our chain 3. This is how the center of our square should look at this point. It looks pretty cool if you ask me. I just really like the look of that. Alright, so now we have a circle and we have to make it into a square. So the way we're going to do that is we chained 3, and we're going to go right in between those 2 double crochets before we reach that front post double crochet. So we're going to stitch a double crochet in between those first 2 double crochets. We're going to chain 2, and then we're going to stitch 2 double crochets in that same space between the 2 double crochets, and then chain 2. And that made our first corner. The chain 3 counts as a first double crochet. Then we double crochet, chain 2, and 2 double crochets to make our first corner. Then we chain 2. We're going to skip over that front post double crochet and go right to those next 2 regular double crochets, and we're going to stitch in between those 2 double crochets just like we did here. Only we're going to only stitch 1 double crochet, chain 1, 1 double crochet. So we have our first corner and then our first side. We're going to chain 2, and then we're going to repeat this 3 more times. So we'll go to the next 2 double crochets and we'll stitch in this space. We'll stitch 2 double crochets for our second corner, chain 2, and 2 double crochets, and that finishes up the second corner. Chain 2, and then we're going to go to those next 2 regular double crochets right in between. We yarn over, go right in between, and stitch a double crochet, chain 1, and double crochet. We'll go ahead and make that chain 2, and you can see we've made, here's our first corner, our first side, our second corner, and our second side. And now we're going to go to the next 4 sets of 2 double crochets and repeat that. We'll do a corner, a side, a corner, a side, and then we'll join to the top of this chain 3. So we go to the next 2 double crochets and we stitch a corner of 2 double crochets, chain 2, 2 double crochets. Alright, so now we're going to go to the next 2 and we're just going to stitch double crochet, chain 1, and double crochet, and then chain 2. So now we have 3 corners, 1, 2, and 3. And we'll repeat this one more time, corner and a side, and then like I said, we'll join to the top of this chain 3. So we completed this last side, and now we want to get back to this corner. So what we're going to do is we're going to slip stitch in that next double crochet, and then we'll slip stitch in the corner. And that will just get us to the corner, and then we're going to chain 3. So now we turned our little wheel in the center into a square. Now this next row is pretty much similar to the last row. Our corners are the same. The only difference is we're going to chain 3 between everything except the corners so that we have a little more space. And we're going to be stitching in these V-stitches. Okay, so we've already got our chain 3. So we're going to double crochet, chain 2, and double crochet. We're going to chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and then right here in the center between those 2 double crochets where we have a chain 1, we're going to stitch a double crochet, chain 1, and double crochet, and then we'll chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and this puts us back at our corner. So the corner is exactly the same, 2 double crochets, 1 and 2, chain 2, 2 double crochets, and then we chain 3. 1, 2, 3. And then we go right to this V-stitch that we stitched, the chain 1, or I'm sorry, the double crochet, chain 1, double crochet, and we stitch a double crochet, chain 1, double crochet like we did on the previous sides. And chain 3. And so you can see we have our corner, 2 double crochets, chain 2 double crochets. Then we chained 3 and we stitched that V-stitch, which is a double crochet, chain 1, double crochet in the previous V-stitch. Then we chained 3 and we repeated 2 double crochets, chain 2, 2 double crochets, chain 3, that V-stitch, and chain 3. And we'll repeat this on these two sides just like we did on those. And then we'll join to the top of that chain 3. This is how it should look. Your 4 corners. We chained 3 and we did a V-stitch, chain 3, and then the corners. And then on this last corner we joined, we slip stitched in the next double crochet, and then slip stitched to get us back in the corner, and then we chained 3. Now this last row, or the second to last row, is going to be similar to your regular traditional granny square. We're going to do 3 double crochets, chain 2, 3 double crochets, and then we'll place 3 double crochets in each of these 2 chain 3 spaces, and then we'll do the same all the way around. So we already have our chain 3, which counts as our first double crochet. So we'll stitch 2 more double crochets. There we go, chain 2. Now we'll stitch 3 more double crochets. And then we'll chain 2. And there's our first corner. Basic traditional granny square corner. 3 double crochets, chain 2, 3 double crochets, and chain 2. Now in this first chain 3 space, we're going to stitch 3 double crochets. Just like you do when you're making a traditional granny square. You stitch 3 double crochets. Chain 2, and then we'll skip right over to this next chain 3 space and stitch 3 double crochets. 1, oopsie, there we go, and 3. And again, we'll chain 2. So that's the first side. Here's the corner, and then 2 sets of chain 2, 3 double crochet, chain 2, 3 double crochet, and then chain 2. And now we do it again on each of the next 3 sides. 3 double crochets, chain 2, 3 double crochets, and then 3 more double crochets. 1, and there's 3, and chain 2. And again, 3 double crochets in that first chain 3 space. And chain 2. 3 double crochets in the next chain 3 space. And that puts us right back at the corner. I'm just going to put 1 double crochet there to hold that over there. And you can see corner, 2 sets of double crochet with chain 3 double crochets with chain 2 in between, traditional corner, traditional granny squares around. And we'll repeat this corner and the side on the next 2 sides, and then we'll join to the top of our chain 3. You'll slip stitch in those 2 granny squares and in that chain 2 space to get us back to that corner. We finished all the sides. Now we're going to join to that top of the chain 3 with a slip stitch. And then you'll need to slip stitch in the top of those next 2 double crochets. And then slip stitch in the chain 2 space and chain 1 only. This last row is a row of single crochet, and I chose to put the row of single crochet just to tighten it up and make it look tidy. So what we're going to do is we're going to put 2 single crochets. We're going to chain 1 only and 2 single crochets in that first corner. And then basically what we're doing is we're going to place a single crochet in the top of each of the double crochets and then 2 single crochets in the chain 2 spaces. And this is just going to tighten it up a little bit and make it look nice and tidy. So we'll just single crochet in the tops of those double crochets. And then we'll put 2 single crochets in the chain 2 spaces. Now, if you don't want to do this row, you certainly don't have to. I just liked it because, like I said, it made it nice and neat. So let's put a single crochet in the top of those 3 double crochets. And then we'll put 2 single crochets in that chain 2 space. We'll do the same thing to this set of 3 double crochets, 1 single in the top of each. Then 2 single crochets in the chain 2 space, 1 single crochet in those next 3 double crochets of that corner. And you can see it tightens it up, makes it have a nice smooth line. And then we'll just repeat what we did. We'll put 2 single crochets, chain 1, 2 single crochets in the corner, and then 1 single crochet in each double crochet and 2 single crochets in the chain 2 space. All the way around. We'll join back over here and we'll tie off and we'll be done. 2 single crochets in the corner, chain 1, and 2 single crochets in the corner. Then we'll, like I said, we'll single crochet in each double crochet and single crochet in each double crochet and single crochet 2 times in the chain 2 space. All the way around, join to the top of the chain 1 and tie off, and then we'll weave in our ends. I joined to the first single crochet, and to finish up I'm just going to go ahead and clip that yarn. I'm going to take my hook and go behind like this, and I'm going to pull that loop to the back and then pull that piece of yarn through to tie it off. And I think that just gives it a tidier appearance on the front. And then I'll just take my needle and I'll thread that yarn on it, and I'll just weave it in, going one way and stitching back the other. Now remember to try to go in stitches, not the hole, and try to catch it on some yarn fiber if you can, and that will help it stay put. So I usually do 2 or 3 and sometimes 4, but 3 is enough for this one, I think. And then I'll just clip that yarn. And now my square is ready. And that's how we make the August Peridot Square.